Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Today was a difficult, believe it or not, I just decided to do this show exactly an hour and 10 minutes ago. I prepared the entire show in the last hour and 10 minutes because of all the commotion that I've been seeing on TV about Ilhan Omar, as well as Pramila Jayapal, as well as Rashida Tlaib, and of course the venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It turns out that I think there is a whole undercurrent there that very few people understand. Don't look at the surface. You have to ask the question exactly what's going on underneath. You have to ask the question, how can three freshmen and one termer have such an impact on the body politic that has so many fearful. So I don't have a blog of the week. I may, if this doesn't take on, I may go ahead and check one out. I wish to hear some calls and get some opinions, ideas from people as far as what they think. Telephone number is 646-716-5812. I would love to hear from women because this is really also encompasses the women issues, the issue of people who normally hadn't been represented, some being represented and not being quiet or not following the status quo. There is a whole lot of undercurrent here, and the reason why, you have to ask a question, right? Why does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, why does Ilhan Omar, very young people, and even Rashida Tlaib, why are they garnering so much attention? These guys are amateurs, aren't they? These guys are young, aren't they? These guys don't have any power, right? These guys don't have any money coming from the Plutocracy. They don't have any money coming from the donors. They don't have any money coming from K Street. They don't have any money coming from all these other places. Why is it? Why are they garnering this type of response? It is something that we have to examine. It is something the grassroots, those leaders in the grassroots movement have to take a look at. Notice that what they've been doing with Ilhan Omar, even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and to a little smaller extent to Rashida Tlaib, is they've been just using snippets, but they're scared to put these women in context. Again, they are scared to put these women in context. And we have to ask ourselves, why? Why? Why is it that the Democrats this last month, instead of working not only on the issues that these women bring up, but on issues of bread and butter to all Americans. I'm not just talking about Americans in the cities. I'm talking about Americans in the rural areas. I'm talking about Americans in the ghettos, the barrios, and Appalachia, I'm talking about Americans all over. There are issues to talk about, right? Why spend so much time? Why spend so much time on the specific snippets, on the specific tidbits that these women have to say? So I'm going to start the show with what I have to begin the show with. I wish we'd have some more people to give us a call at 646-716-5812. If you're just listening in, please share the show. Shows like this have a tendency, people kind of tune in and then they say, I don't know. But this is probably one of the most important shows, because this is a change, a real, real change. And it's not, in as much as these are 4 women, young women, women that have just made it here, it is a change that I think people need to examine. It is a very important change. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start with the program. Let me get to the sheet there. The title of the program today is, Why Does the Establishment Fear These Women? And in the title I said, why does the establishment fear these women? But what it should be is, why do both establishments fear these 4 women? You see, subtitle, the establishment is coming to terms with what equitable power will look and sound like in these 4 women. They represent a voice that was always ignored, with the expectation of acquiescence. Again, subtitle, the establishment is coming to terms. Both establishments are coming to terms with what equitable power will look and sound like in these 4 women. They represent a voice that was always ignored. A voice that was always ignored, with the expectation of acquiescence. So, why is it that both the Republican establishment and Democratic establishment is up in arms with a new crop of progressive Democratic women? Why? The reason is, they did not come into power funded by the plutocracy, but instead by a real grassroots. As such, it is necessary for them to placate no one. It is not necessary for them to placate anyone. They serve the people who voted for them, and not the moneyed interests who are pulling the strings of the others. That reality makes these 4 women dangerous, because the only people that they're working for, the only people they must work for, the only people that they have to protect, the only people that these women must work for are the people of the good old United States of America. And that is a fearsome thing. The establishment and the plutocracy now know it is easier to put out a brush fire than an outright forest fire. And that is why they are after Ilhan Omar, Pramila Jayapal, Rashida Tlaib, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We have to understand the concepts of what's going on, my brothers and my sisters. That is what we're up against. So what I want to do is the new thing that they're talking about is they want to make it seem like Ilhan Omar once again had a trope out. She said something anti-Semitic. What I want to do is I want to play her in the full context of the question that was asked and answered, not only by Rashida Tlaib, but by Ilhan Omar. But right now the target originally was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this young 29-year-old. I mean, they acted like she had the power to pass any bill. But it's not the power to pass any bill that they feared. It's the power of the grassroots. The same applies to Rashida Tlaib, and the same applies to Ilhan Omar. So what I want to play for you is a segment here on what Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib had to respond to the question about being anti-Semitic, etc., 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 in the full context, so that it's not be destroyed. It is our responsibility, the responsibility of politics done right, etc., not to give you what the mainstream media wants you to know and hear to make your opinion based on those ideas, but to have it in full context. And yes, it's on the internet, but I mean, a lot of times, you know, you have to have the power, what the plutocracy knows, the power of repetition, the power of repetition, this power of seeing it everywhere, is what convinces people. And they know that if they are in control fully of these sources, that then and only then can it happen. So what I did is one of my good friends, one of the reasons, and stay with me here, one of the reasons I decided to do this program, and I said it came about 1 hour and 10 minutes ago, you know, earlier on, this first thing this morning, I got a call from a good friend, and he said, hey, do you know how to get in touch with, good old Morning Joe? I can't believe what they're saying about Ilhan Omar. And even a lot of progressive Jews are now coming out in defense of this woman because they understand what is going on here. They understand what is happening here. I couldn't give him that, but the mere fact that this man was following this story as closely as he was, and I understand that many others are as well, I thought it was necessary that we go ahead and put this out as well. So here it is, and what I want you to do is listen to this in the entire context, and then I'll come back with a further narrative.
I want to pivot a little bit and talk about issues that tends to keep cropping up over and over again, the issue of anti-Semitism. I know that's a very sensitive topic, and I know it's an issue that has been out there, and it's used oftentimes to quiet people, to disparage them, to isolate them, and make them feel like they're not connected to something bigger. Can you please speak, I think, you know, particularly to you, Ilhan, and to you, Rashida, the process by which this happens, and what can we, as a community here, do to help support you, so that when we're criticizing Israel for some of the war crimes that it has done, it's not seen as you're anti-Semitic, because you're not criticizing the religion, you're not criticizing Jewish people, you're criticizing government policies, just like we criticize government policies here in the United States when our government doesn't do anything, when our government doesn't do something right. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you, when I talk about, you know, some sort of human dignity or some sort of, you know, equality and justice for my sissy, my grandmother in the West Bank, I do it through pure love for her. And, you know, I get emotional every time I talk about this, because talking about her and centering why I speak about Palestinian rights the way I do is because I know there is not an inch of hate in this woman. She would embrace anybody that came to her home. She'd feed you too. But she is so much at the center of why I fight so hard to just recognize and humanize Palestinians. So much of the stories that I heard about growing up is not shared with enough people. It's not valued. And I can tell you, I want to thank so many of our Jewish allies out there that stood up with me. And they continue to stand up with us and tell the truth that this conversation and debate around human rights for everyone, this conversation around what that looks like, is not centered around hate. It's actually centered so much around love.
No, I get emotional, I think, every time I hear Rashida, and I think I'm just going to stop hanging out with her. She's messing with my smile. Because I know that, you know, I have a huge Jewish constituency, and, you know, every time I meet with them, they share stories of safety and sanctuary that they would love for the people of Israel. And most of the time when we're having the conversation, you know, there is no actual like relative that they speak of, and And there is still lots of emotions that comes through because it's family, right? Like, my children still speak of Somalia with passion and compassion, even though they don't have a family member there. But we never really allow space for the stories of Palestinians seeking safety and sanctuary to be uplifted. And to me, it is the dehumanization and the silencing of a particular pain and suffering of people should not be okay and normal. And you can't be in the practice of humanizing and uplifting the suffering of one if you're not willing to do that for everyone. And so for me, I know that when I hear, right, my Jewish constituents or friends or, you know, colleagues speak about Palestinians who don't want safety or Palestinians who aren't deserving, I stay focused on that, the actual debate about what that process should look like. I never go in the dark place of saying, here's a Jewish person, they're talking about Palestinians are Muslim, maybe they're Islamophobic. I never allow myself to go there because I don't have to. And what I am fearful of is that because Rashida and I are Muslim, that a lot of our Jewish colleagues, a lot of our constituents, a lot of our allies go to thinking that everything we say about Israel to be an anti-Semitic because we are Muslim. And so to me, it's something that becomes designed to end the debate. Because you get in this space of, yes, right? Like, I know what intolerance looks like, and I'm sensitive when someone says the words you use, Ilhan, are resemblance of intolerance. And I am cautious of that, and I feel pained by that. But it almost as if every single time we say something, regardless of what it is we say, that is supposed to be about foreign policy, our engagement, our advocacy about ending oppression, or the freeing of every human life and wanting dignity, we get to be labeled in something, and that ends the discussion because we end up defending that, and nobody ever gets to have the broader debate of what is happening with Palestine. So for me, I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay for people to push for allegiance to a foreign country. I want to ask, why is it okay for me to talk about the influence of the NRA, of fossil fuel industries, or big pharma, and not talk about a powerful lobbying group that is influencing policy? I want to ask the question of why is it okay for you to push, for you to be, but there's so many people. I mean, most of us are new, but many members of Congress have been there forever. Some of them have been there before we were born. So I know many of them were fighting for people to be free, for people to live in dignity in South Africa. Yes. I know many of them fight for people around the world to have dignity, to have self-determination. So I know that they care about these things. But now that you have two Muslims who are saying, here is a group of people that we want to make sure they have the dignity that you want everybody else to have, we get to be called names and we get to be labeled as hateful. No, we know what hate looks like. Yeah. politicians have written on their bathrooms, "Assassinate Ilhan Omar." I have people driving around my district looking for my home, for my office, causing me harm. I have people every single day on Fox News and everywhere posting that I am a threat to this country. So I know what fear looks like. The masjid I pray in Minnesota got bombed by 2 domestic white terrorists. So I know what it feels to be someone who is of faith that is vilified. I know what it means to be of someone who is of ethnicity that is vilified. I know what it feels to be of a race, right? Like I am an immigrant, so I don't have the historical drama that some of my black sisters and brothers have in this country, but I know what it means for people to just see me as a black person and to treat me as less than a human. And so when people say, you are bringing hate, I know what their intention is. Their intention is to make sure that our lights are dimmed, that we walk around with our heads bowed, that we lower our face and our voice. But we have news for people. You can call us any kind of name. You can threaten us any kind of way. Rashida and I are not ourselves. Every single day we walk in the halls of Congress, we have people who have never had the opportunity to walk there walking with us. So we're here to say and represent the voices of people who have been silenced for many decades and generations. And we're here to fight for the people of our district who want to make sure that there is actual prosperity being guaranteed. Because there is a direct correlation between not having a clean water and starting endless wars. It's all about the profit and who gets benefited. There's a direct correlation between corporations that are getting rich and the fact that we have students that are shackled with debt. There's a direct correlation between the White House and the people who are benefiting from having detention beds that are privatized. So what people are afraid of is not that there are 2 Muslims in Congress. What people are afraid of is that there are 2 Muslims in Congress that have their eyes wide open, that have their feet to the ground, that know what they're talking about, that are fearless, and that understand that they have the same election certificate as everyone else in Congress.
Okay, I hope the reason I played the entire segment, and by the way, she had a whole lot more to say in that 3-person interview there, but the reason I wanted to specifically talk about or let you see that part is to let you understand how, if you take a look at just what you hear on TV right now, you see somebody that is monodimensional, just seem to be talking about Israel, but not in a state fashion. They want to make you believe that there is this Muslim woman in Congress who is infatuated with just being anti-Semitic now that she's in Congress and has a voice. Why do they have to do that? They have to do that because she brings it home. Let me put it even. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is very good in the prose, If you take a look, this 29-year-old Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they bring her to the forefront. A 29-year-old. It is easy for them to disregard as they attack her to say, she's just 29 years old, bring her down. With that, they bring down the millennial generation. When they see they come on the attack on her, this grassroots movement, they temper that grassroots movement. However, with Ilhan Omar, we have a 39-year-old woman, I think she is, or somewhere in that area, who has a much more complicated history. Right? She's an immigrant. She's Muslim. She's for those who are not very well read, all they see is a black woman. But she comes with a deep insight with all the different levels of indirection, multidimensional. And they don't want you to see that. They don't want you to see that this is a multidimensional woman who can tie the strings together. If you hear how she ends that, if you hear how she puts that into context, if you hear how she says, they don't want you to concentrate on the real issues. They don't want you to concentrate on the profits of the corporations making money from all the debt that students have accrued. And people are going to say, well, why did they borrow the money? We can go into that some other time or even later. They don't want you to take a look at how it is one of the reasons we want to keep a belligerency in the Middle East and belligerency elsewhere around the world is to continue to feed the war engine so that we can feed the profits to these corporations, the American corporations, the military-industrial complex. Remember, you don't see it, but there's a deeper part of the analysis that she didn't give, and it goes as follows, right? Why is it that we want such a huge military budget, and even when we give the several $billion that we give to Israel and Egypt, guess what? It comes right back to America. It comes right back into the defense industrial complex, the military industrial complex. All of this is tied together. And we have 4 women. 4 women. 4 women who owes absolutely nothing to the plutocracy. 4 women who owes nothing to the big moneyed interests. They just owe it to their constituents. They just owe it to their constituents. We have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking about 70% taxes on income after after several $1 million. They don't want to hear it, and they don't want the young people who have nothing right now to jump on that bandwagon because they are holding the key to electing people who are willing to effect that reality. They don't want Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking about, they don't want her talking about, let's tax wealth, because the only wealth we want to tax right now is the wealth of the middle class and the poor. But we don't want to touch the wealth of the people who are actually extracting all the capital day after day after day after day. We don't want to tax them. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and then with the backing of a known entity, Elizabeth Warren, who comes out and has written policy to do it. Oh my God. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? It's dangerous, folks. I got a call, so I'll stop my monologue here to take the call to see if this is somebody who wants to take this a different place. Come on in, 781. I think you are. Come on in, 781.
Hi, Egberto. It's Kathleen.
Kathleen, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Talk to me, my friend. Talk to me.
Well, I wanted to thank you for doing the show on this. This has been, I pay attention to everything I can, but this has been something that's really kind of bothered me since it first came to light. And I went and looked at the House resolution that denounces anti-Semitism, and now apparently it also denounces Islamophobia.
Right.
Anti-Islamophobia.
Right.
But what what I want to draw attention to is if you actually go and read the resolution, it expands the definition of anti-Semitism.
I haven't read it yet, so please
expands.
tell me what it is. I haven't read it yet. I know they are voting on it tomorrow.
It's long. I really, without having it in front of me, I couldn't tell you word for word.
Yeah, but that's okay. Just kind of
but
give me the gist of what else they want to add to the definition of anti-Semitism.
I'm trying to remember what I read it a couple of days ago.
Yeah, that's fine. If you remember
I think
later
I read
on, it's
it on
fine.
Monday.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I just wanted to suggest that people actually go and read it because it's not just about denouncing anti-Semitism. It expands on the definition of anti-Semitism, and I want to know why.
Well, I can
they're
explain. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kathleen.
Well, it just seems to me they're effectively trying to define any objection to the actions that Israel takes, or the government, or the military, to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I can understand why they would do that, but continue, and then I'm going to tell you why I think the reason is.
No, go right ahead.
Yeah, first of all, you know, you notice in the video that I just played at the Let's Dream, where there is Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Pramila Jayapal. What they're asking is they were trying to put it into the context that please remember that a lot of what Netanyahu is doing are really what do you call it? World crimes. I don't remember the exact term that's used for world crimes. Crime against humanity. A lot of what they're doing, that is what it is. That is not anti-Semitic. That is just the truth. But the reason they want to control that area in a certain modal. We have now a Muslim in Congress who is not scared to talk about scared to talk about these issues, and that scares them because it's a big circular loop. One of the issues is, first of all, do you think we really want all that much peace in the Middle East? We don't. You get too much peace in the Middle East, what you get is these guys realize that somebody else is really trying to control your natural resources. Same thing that's happening in Venezuela. And it's going to be interesting because I interview on next Thursday. I'm actually interviewing the ambassador to Colombia, who has a whole lot to say about Venezuela, and I have no idea what position the ambassador of Colombia is going to take. So, but all of these things go into the same circle, right? We want to have a certain amount of power over a region. And right now, Netanyahu is our bulldog in that part of the world. He maintained enough of the war going so that we have supplies coming in from the United States to supply his forces, and they can maintain the same status, the status quo over there. So it is not all that complex what they're doing. And what somebody like Ilhan Omar does is when she starts talking about it, they have to shut it down by saying you're anti-Semitic. And you've noticed she alluded to that in her discussion on the video that I played. She has to come out. Yeah. They have to come out and say, oh, that's anti-Semitic. And exactly what she says. They want to immediately shut us down before we can talk. And why is it that they don't want them to talk? Because, Kathleen, you have a mind of your own, Kathleen. And you may start to realize that a lot of what we were hearing before Kathleen was hogwash. And we can't have that, can we? Right.
Right. I'm also curious, the UN Human Rights Council last week released a report, as well as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch.
Right.
All three found Israel guilty of human rights violations.
Exactly. But,
of targeting children, medical personnel, press, the disabled, and silence from the U.S.
And
silence.
And not only silence
not
from the
a
U.S.,
word.
even from our own media. When I tell people one of the reasons you need operations like our independent media, Politics Done Right, the TYT, the Majority Report, why we need all of those guys. We need all of that because the context that we just played is on the internet, okay? Granted, it's on the internet, but it's not going to get it's just in a story. What we're trying to do is give it a more bigger expanded view so that they don't look at Ilhan Omar as just somebody shooting out words that can be taken as anti-Semitic. There's a whole lot of thought behind her entire narrative. And the news media is giving her none of it. If you listen to the detail in which she speaks, I mean, there's something that she says that, and me as a black person, Kathleen, was really, and not only that, as a foreign, an immigrant black person from Central America, black Latino Caribbean person, it said so much because I try to explain that to a whole lot of my friends here. When she talks, she says, when they see me in Congress, they just think, she says, I don't come with the same baggage that black Americans have because I came from Ethiopia. And, there's some additional perspective here. That's what she said in the video that you just listened to. And that is important, right? Because what happens is what they try to paste on her is something that many of us talk about a lot of times. And I'm going to go a little bit off subject. When I just started blogging, I always blogged under a pseudonym without a picture. And the reason why was you want to get your credibility as a blogger, as a writer, before anybody knows who you are so that they can stamp something on you. And that is exactly what she was talking about. It's like she doesn't, as soon as somebody like her, somebody like Rashida Tlaib, a stamp is placed on them. And that is what they want to beat. And you know what? They did it. The fact that she won in her district, which has a whole lot of Jewish people, speaks well of her, and they know she's not anti-Semitic.
Right. Well, I contacted my representatives last week, and I also contacted Nancy Pelosi.
Great.
And I told them, I don't know what you heard. I don't know what you read, but I didn't read hate. I didn't hear hate. And to me, that's the basis for any ism.
Thank you.
It's hate.
Thank you.
And I didn't hear it. Please tell me, where is the hate?
Let me tell you what I also did, Kathleen, because I am, with this platform, what I want to make sure to do, because we are all fallible, right? And we can all see things sometimes that we should see that we don't. So what I did is I went ahead and I called up a slew of my Jewish friends, right? And to ask them first about Ilhan Omar, because that was the one that was the one in the news now. So I wanted to talk to them to see about, hey, is it really anti-Semitic? And one of the guys actually sent me an article from the Nation magazine that said, no, this is not anti-Semitic. It is just the truth. And this was a Jewish writer at the Nation magazine. This morning I got a call from a good friend of mine. He said, Egberto, read this article. And it's written by a well-known Jewish person. And they said, no, this is something that needs to be out there. Ilhan, there is not an anti-Semitic bone in Ilhan Omar. And the thing about it is what they want to do is they want to silence any critique of what Israel is doing. Now, here is the thing about it, and I want to ask Americans this in general, Kathleen, and this is a very important question. There are some Palestinian terrorists that threw some rockets up into Israel, okay, from the occupied territories. They go ahead and they shoot some rockets into Israel. Nobody dies, right? People could have died, don't get me wrong. And yes, there are Palestinian terrorists that go into Israel and kill Israelis and vice versa. What got to me is the reporting of when those rockets occurred last year. Israel decimated Gaza. Decimated. I think it was Gaza. I don't think it was the on the beach. I think it was the Gaza Strip that they decimated.
Yes.
And I mean, you go in there and it was like miles of wreckage of bombs, left people, thousands homeless, and killed over 2,000 people. Israeli lost a couple of soldiers, a few soldiers, maybe 3, 4, 5. I don't remember the numbers. Yeah, that's bad. But 2,000 human beings, Palestinian human beings, died. And all America's news story was talking about Palestinian aggression.
Right.
Do you not then see if these people, so little, and most of these people weren't terrorists, most of these people were civilians. Can't you see the hatred that you are going to generate not only for Israel, but also for America if we continue to not acknowledge the lives of others as well? And I have a special feeling for this as well, Kathleen. I don't know if you've heard me say it before, but Manuel Antonio Noriega, the Panamanian dictator, the country from whence I come, he was a capitalist. Okay, he was a real capitalist. He's laundered money for the drug empire that sent drugs into America, and America had a demand for drugs, and he was willing to be the middleman to handle the finances, and but he also did a whole lot of work for the CIA, and it wasn't about the drugs that they really busted him, even though that's what they said, right? They asked him to go into Nicaragua. He said no. You never say no to America. So they were going to take him out. So Bush took him out, and the first thing they did is they did exactly what they're doing to Venezuela. They starve it economically. So Panamanians, they starve Panamanians economically. Our Balboa is based on the dollar, and they made sure that dollars were not flowing. And people learned how to barter and do all kinds of things to keep the economy going. It was in bad shape, but they at least kept it going some. And when that didn't work, I got a call. I never forgot it. A friend of mine who is in the, we don't know for sure, but we think he's CIA. All he said is, Egberto, don't tell anybody, we're going in tonight. And I got another call that was from Panama saying, hey, these C-130s are landing every few minutes, and C-130 landed in Panama at one of the U.S. bases that they have on the Canal Zone. And by God, if not at midnight, it started blowing up. My father, when I was able to get in touch with him after a few days, talked to me about missiles flying over his house. There were 10,000 Panamanians who died. The United States said 1,000. I think the UN said 4,000. We know in David, Panama City, and Colon, where those missiles exploded, we know the amount of people that live there. We know the amount of people that are missing. For one man. So we understand how this stuff works. And you know what? I think it was Colin Powell called those people who died collateral damage. For one man. For one man. So there are many of us who understand what Ilhan Omar is talking about and what many others are talking about. But it's even deeper than that. This is not only about how we deal with people, foreigners in other countries. This is about how we deal with our own people. This is how they don't want her talking about bringing the triangulation between the corporation and the student loans, the corporations and healthcare. They don't want, when Pramila, and the reason I brought up, Pramila is there as well. Pramila Jayapal, the reason I brought her into the discussion as well is, they are killing her on that Medicare for All bill in the backside, in the backgrounds right now, and wait till the hearings actually start, what they're going to do for it, how they're going to try to make a mockery out of her, and they're going to try to turn it into a freeloading expedition. But that's why we are here. That's why we have to do this job, Kathleen. Anything else you want to add, Kathleen?
Well, I did want to mention the anti-BDS piece that was added to the legislation.
Oh my God! Did they add that to that legislation as well? To that bill that you're telling me about, the resolution?
The Senate.
Oh, in the Senate, yeah, that is crazy.
In the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I called both my senators about it, and I actually received a very nice letter from Senator Elizabeth Warren, which thanked me for my call, told me that she was not going to vote in favor of the legislation because it violated the First Amendment.
Right.
But she did talk about Israel, and she did say when she first became a senator, her first overseas trip was to Israel, sponsored by Israel.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Paid in full by Israel.
I wonder why.
So they do it with as many legislators as they can.
Right. Yeah. Well, I can see why, but I tell you what, I think that the great thing again, and the reason I wanted to feature these four women is the great thing about these four women is these are four women that will not shut up. Okay? And I think these are four women that will get reelected because these are four grassroots women that are being supported by the grassroots. And Kathleen, that is what we need. What we need is we need the grassroots supporting their own, and we need to stop relegating all this support to the big moneyed interests. The folks that can lay on $5,000 on you or $2,000 on you or whatever. You know, we need to take a stake in our democracy. We have to take a stake in our own democracy. And that's what I tell people. And you know what? Now that I said take a stake in our democracy, I'm going to ask folks for a piece of steak right now, and then I'm going to come back to you. Folks, this is Politics Done Right. Please remember to become a subscriber. Go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Let me tell you something, folks. I don't only ask folks to become a subscriber of Politics Done Right. I ask you to become subscribers, small subscribers of all these other progressive rags out there that are expending the time and the effort to bring you the real story on not the same old loop that you get all of the time on national TV. So please go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and support us at $1.99. Or you can. I mean, we have other options, but I mean, for $1.99, buying Egberto a cup of coffee every month or so. Hey, I think it's cool. And what do you get for that? Look, How to Make America Utopia is a book that I'm writing right now, and 2 chapters are already online, and we'll continue to put chapter after chapter as I write them. But guess what's there already? What's there already is the entire book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And that book still holds true today. That book tells you about how this system runs, why the system is in the state that it is in today. Subscribe. You got the book. Look, you can always buy the book at Amazon. But what I'm trying to tease you about this book is, hey, become a member of Politics Done Right. We are going to be out here giving you the real story. If you take a look at how we handle Ilhan Omar, you don't get the full insight of Ilhan Omar on TV. They make a caricature out of Ilhan Omar. We won't do that. We would never, ever do that. So please become a member. Politics Done Right. Go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And if you just want to say, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and give you a contribution instead of a subscription. Just go to politicsdoneright.com and click on the PayPal stuff or any one of those things, because what we need is to be able to support and continue doing what we're doing here to keep folks honestly informed. But anyhow, Kathleen, so what else is up?
Well, the last thing I wanted to let you know is I'm going to see Senator Sanders on Sunday up in New Hampshire.
All right. Wait, where do you live?
Massachusetts.
Oh, so you're going to make a drive. I think you got to go left and down, right?
Up.
Oh,
North.
Yeah. What can I say? That's a funny shape and all that good stuff. I thought I had my geography done perfect, but I have to kind of relook on all those New England states, man.
It'll take me a couple hours to get there, but it'll be worth it.
Hey, but you know what, Kathleen? I want you to do me a favor, okay? Take a picture.
Sure.
Take a picture of you and see if you can get one sort of a selfie with good old Bernie in the background or something. Send it to me, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen here and say, hey, this is one of our subscribers that's actually out there doing the thing.
Okay, will do.
All right. Look, thank you so kindly for calling in, Kathleen. You have a great one, okay?
You too, Egberto. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, folks, that was Kathleen. Let me tell you, folks, we have a whole lot to talk about. This show today, like I said, it's funny. I have a whole lot of blogs out there that what I do is I have these, when I don't have a guest, I have these lists of blogs that I write all week, and then I pick one and I say, which subject is it best to cover today, and we move on from there, and etc. And today I had a good one, Take a look at egbertowillies.com. I had like 3 of them that I was choosing from on top. And then, as I went to the doctor to check my pressure, hey, man, pressure is great. I guess being able to come out here and be honest and tell these things, it helps the pressure. But gain a few pounds. The doctor said, hey, Egberto, in 3 months or in 4 months, you gained 8 pounds. I said, yeah, man, but I was lifting a whole lot of weights. I'm trying to kind of, he said, yeah, that's good. And he said, oh, no, don't worry about it, because that is fine. Because, usually if you put on a little bit of weight, your pressure goes up when, and this time it didn't, which he said, oh, no, it is muscles that you're building. It is muscles. But you know me, I'm going to go ahead and take that right back off. But anyhow, but it was on my mind as I sat in the doctor's office. The call from my friend just was on my mind. It was on my mind. And then I started to look at the news, the MSNBC news, and everything was Ilhan Omar, and they just have that little snippet, that little thing, taking her out of context, not giving the full flavor, not giving the full dimensionality of this woman. And I said, nuh-uh. That is the mainstream media doing that. Politics done right. We're not going to do that. We're going to give the whole thing. So I said I went online. Actually, I am so happy that I have great listeners and great subscribers. This guy's a subscriber too. I have great listeners, subscribers. He said, hey, check this out. And he sent me the email with the link that contained this video. And I sat, and as I was planning the show, I started listening to the video, and I said, this video needs to get some coverage. So we are going to give this video several tens of thousands more coverage. Now, this snippet that I just did right here. And the reason why is Americans need to hear this. They need to not look at, and everybody talk about a short attention span. What I may do with this video is I may take out the top, a few minutes out of it so that I can get it in a form that it reads well on Instagram. And I'll probably do it a little cut that take out a 2-minute cut out of it as well. And put it and give it the editing that it deserves, not the editing that MSNBC uses to make whatever she says look anti-Semitic, but the editing that is representative of the message she was trying to say. I got so much work to do. Folks, help politics done right. Get some more people so that I can have help cutting up these videos. More than likely, the videos I'll do most of the cutting myself because I'm trying to tell the story. But I need people otherwise, need producing and writers, etc. So why don't you subscribe? Please go ahead and go to patreon.com. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Support the program that is going to nourish your mind. Not with what you see on regular MSNBC, because even MSNBC is not given the context of Ilhan Omar's and Rashida Tlaib, the things that they say. When Rashida Tlaib confronted that the guy that got a pardon, I don't even remember his name right now, that is now in charge of the Venezuelan project under Donald Trump, when she said, just called him a war criminal, pretty much. We didn't have other Democrats or Republicans calling him out that way. When you're owed to nobody, when you owe it to nobody, you can say it all to anybody. So I'm going to end the show later on, but just saying, thank you, Ilhan Omar. Thank you, Rashida Tlaib. Thank you, Pramila Jayapal. Thank you, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. 4 young women. 4 young women that owe their seats to no one in the plutocracy. They owe their seats to you. 4 young women that are not afraid to speak. 4 young women who walked Congress with their heads up high without allowing the patriarchy to rule them. I can't say that for most groups in Congress. I can't say that for the Latino caucus. I can't say that for the Black caucus. I can't say that for any other one of these old-time organized Democratic caucus. Is it caucuses? I don't remember. I can't say that. But we have 4 women who they're teaching. They're teaching politicians elected by the people, supported by the people, and funded by the people how to govern. And for that, we should thank them. We should uplift them on all forms of media, social media, as the plutocracy pays people to malign them. We must be there to uplift them, because they are not there to support Muslims. They are not there to support Jews. They are not there to support atheists. They are not there to support Christians. They are not there to support any one group. They are there to support Americans. They are there to support Americans, irrespective of who you are. You listen to the concept. You listen to what they talk about. You listen to all of what they're talking about, brothers and sisters. They are grassroots, and they are folks looking out for us. We have to look out for them. We have to make sure that they don't have to make that change, because many change because we forget about them. And if we forget about them, if we forget that we need to nurture those who serve us, others will. And that is what we have to be careful of. If we forget to nurture those who serve us, others will nurture them, and they will hold their allegiance to them. So please, let's remember that. Please, let's support them. One more pitch. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and please subscribe to Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/politicsdoneright. I want to tell you guys, I put my pennies as well where my mouth is. And that is the reason I support Daily Kos with a subscription. That is why I support the democraticunderground.com with a monthly support as well. That is why I support opednews.com with a monthly support. That is why I support the Coffee Party or coffeepartyusa.com with a monthly support. That is why I support my own local Democratic Party with my monthly support. That is why I also support my local Democratic Club. We are going to have to support all those things that we know holds dear to us. That's going to move things forward for us. It's not going to happen magically. You know, you don't make real money doing this kind of stuff. All you want to do, for those of us who decide to turn this into our lives, the only thing that you have is you maintain the ability to keep going. And that is what we need. So please, folks, go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. You are investing in something that is going to help not only you, but it's going to enlighten us all, so that we slowly start making a difference, that we slowly start moving in the right direction. My name is Egberto Willis. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the viewership, for being a part, for the listenership, if you're on podcast, thank you for sharing. Wherever you are, I ask you to share. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I close this baby every single time. I am out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.